So Ohuhu reached out to me and asked if I'd be able to do a tutorial on how well I blend with my Ohuhu markers. And I figured it was a great idea and a good opportunity to show you all, since I do get a bit of questions regarding this sort of topic anyway. So this is a sponsored video from Ohuhu on how I use their markers to blend. I'm also going to touch on shading really quick because I get some questions about that too, and my shading is pretty similar to my blending, but I'm not as focused on blending things out when it comes to shading because hard lines can define certain areas in a good way. So the example I'm using here is her face. As my base color, I've used color 26. Then I go into 27 in all areas where there's shading or shadow. And then color 25 to really darken any areas that wouldn't see a ton of light. And my light source is coming from the right-hand side of her face, which leaves the left-hand side in a bit of shadow, as well as under the neck and in certain areas where her hair may cast a shadow on her cheek or her forehead. And other places that would have or be in shadow would include the bottom of her nose where her nostrils are. And the upper lip would appear darker than her bottom lip because the lip curves down and in, and the bottom lip curves up and out, which catches more light. So right here, I'm just coloring with 25 in order to darken any areas that would be in shadow. And then I take color 28, which is a pastel pink, and I use it to color the bottom of the lip just slightly because I want to make sure it's quite soft in order to give the appearance of light hitting it. And then I just took a dark color in pink, color number 6 or 7 to shade in the top of her lip. And then I do her eyes starting with my lightest color, which in this one is 59 for a base. And I make the shadow of the eye color with number 55, and her iris and upper shadow is color 58. With this, I lay the color down, and that's that. There's no real blending here that occurs because the sharp contrast in color really gives a great vibrancy to the overall eye, which really just tends to be my own personal style. And then I just add some highlights and voila, done with that. So I've moved on to the shirt, and I really love the color choice I made with this. And basically I knew that I wanted it to be a just gray sort of tone because she's already sporting some bright green eyes, pink lips. She's gonna have blue, purple, and pink hair and vibrant green cloudy background, and it's just blah. It's a lot of color. It's a lot of vibrancy, and not in a good way in the sense of it can be overwhelming and exhausting with all that color. So it's the color that I've used for her shirt is a good way to sort of give a resting zone for the eyes. And I feel that's always a good choice to have when you're dealing with a lot of vibrant colors in one piece. So I'm doing cool grays for her shirt, which I start out with CG1 for my lightest color, and then I go into CG3 as shading, and I bring CG3 color down further onto her shirt and transition to my next color, which is CG5, where I shade on top of CG3 first and then drag CG5 down, and then do shading with CG7 and drag CG7 down, and so on and so forth goes this same process. And I really hope that made sense to you all and didn't just sound like a whole bunch of CG this and CG that. But anyways, I do this until I have this awesome ombre kind of effect of light gray to a very smooth dark gray on her shirt. So now we've reached the hair part, which I feel may be the part most are interested in. So to begin with, I start with my lightest color, which is a blue hue, and it is color number 75. And I lay it down, but I'm careful not to color in the whole strand of hair here, because if I do, my pink color won't be as vibrant, and I want this color to blend into a purple color, which is kind of like my transition color, and then go into the vibrant pink that I have planned. So right here, I'm coloring this strand in with the 75, which is that kind of, it's got a purple tint to it, but it's more on the cooler blue side. And then I go in with color 84, and I basically just color on the edge of 75. And usually once I have that colored in, I go back to 75 or my previous color, and I color on the edge of where I colored on, like where the purple is. And I do that in order to get a kind of, seamless gradient going on there so that the fresh color mixes. And my pink color is the color 89 that I'm using now. And it is also part of the new 120 color set. And basically I take that same pink color and I make pink hair strands in the bluish part of her hair, because what I'm looking for now is a sort of cohesiveness. So despite the fact that I've made this sort of gradient, the transfer tends to look better if there is, a bit of pink in the purple part and then vice versa. Or later on I put, the purple blue strands of hair in the pink part of her hair. And this is more of a stylistic choice rather than a blending technique, because I wanted the hair to look more like hair, because after a while it kind of started looking a little wonky, kind of like jelly, if that makes any sense. And at least that was the vibe I was getting from that. So yeah. So now as I'm doing all the hair, I did want to share some tips on color theory, because if you're not familiar with it, you may have a bit of trouble with blending. So of course, like I said, the shirt was easiest when it came to blending because they're all in the same color family of cool gray, or CG, which is basically just lighter and darker tones of the same color. So that was easy to do. And when it comes to colors, you can do the same thing and blend in tones of the same color. Or if you're wanting to change the color, you're going to have a much easier time doing so when you go from, say, blue to purple to pink and so on and so forth, because what you're dealing with are supplementary colors. So now if you're wanting to go from like purple to yellow, you're gonna have a bit of trouble, because when you mix those two colors together, they get muddied and it doesn't look good. And that's because yellow and purple cancel each other out. They look good next to each other because as humans, we like balance. And these colors provide beautiful balance when they're sitting like next to each other, but they don't mix well with each other unless you're looking to mute your yellow with your purple, because that's what happens. You can get a more toned down yellow by mixing in some purple into it. But if you're looking for a blend that still keeps its vibrancy, you're not going to find it going from yellow to purple. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that these cool gray colors that I used for her sweater, and of course the pink color 89, I already said the pink color was also a part of the Ohuhu's new 120 color set, but I don't think I mentioned that the cool grays that I used for her shirt are also part of the 120 color set. And I highly recommend them. It's always awesome to have a variety of colors to choose from. Even if you have a lesser set already, like the 40 or 80 or 80 count set, I still recommend checking them out, because I promise you it's never really a waste to have backups. And I'm so happy with the new pack, because I also just recently ran out of 2 colors, because I use color 26, which is like a peachy, very, very light peachy color, and 68, which is like a light bluish color. And I go through those a lot. So I went ahead and just recently replaced them with the 2 from the new color set. So yeah. And I also want to mention the gel pen that I ended up using for the highlights in her eyes, but will also use for highlights in her hair. So I get a lot of questions on what I use. And basically it is the Sakura Jelly Roll Gel Pen in size 08. And I also use size 05 for smaller areas. And I love them a lot. And of course, as always, I have more information to those sorts of products in the description below. So if you're interested in more information, check that out. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the rest of the speed paint. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, maybe comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.